Hello everyone, my name is Rochelle Innocent and I'm the founder and CEO of Project Purpose. Welcome to our channel. Our community is focused on fostering the intellectual and character development in children. We do this through our parent-child workshops that are focused on 4 themes: autonomy, self-efficacy, compassion, and self-concept, in order to cultivate grit, perseverance, and resilience in each child. And we are so thrilled to be offering one of the first of its kind digital, virtual, and continuous learning environments, enabling parents and children to connect from all around the world. At Project Purpose, our overarching mandate is to renew and rebuild family, community, and relationships. Our different social media platforms provide us with an opportunity to have discussions and to create space on all topics that relate to family, community, and relationships with ourselves as well as with others, with a primary focus on mental health and education. More precisely, the ways that the institutions of mental health and education play a role and have played a role in our societies at large. These discussions and debates provide us with an opportunity to think critically about what needs to change within these structures for us to live up to our bold slogan, support, protect, and empower each child through youth-focused development, better known as leadership in juvenescence. We recognize that in valuing our children's leadership potential, this also translates as recreating and co-creating environments, both socially and politically, that will enable our children to thrive. For those of you who are particularly keen on these topics, we also write thought pieces every other Sunday. We have a thought piece scheduled to drop this upcoming Sunday, so be sure to meander over to the website and check out our online content. Now, if it is the case that you are looking for a listening alternative, well, we're available on 12 different podcast platforms for your listening leisure, and we've provided you with access to the links in the description down below. Now, as is the convention, be sure to subscribe, hit that post notification bell so that you are aware of every time we post. And of course, if you like these conversations and you want to keep them going, like, comment, and share this segment. Let's get into it. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another segment here on Project Purpose. For those of you who are new, we cover topics that relate to mental health, mental wellness, and education on a week-by-week basis. And today the topic of discussion is education. And on the topic of education this week, I want to talk about the power of influence with formal and informal authority. And I think that this is really important because there's just so much going on all around the world that is showing us that there are cracks and there are issues with our formal institutions of authority are so problematic, yet there seems to still be this indoctrination of blind trust that allows us to be leveraged as pawns when it is the case that, they're operating in our circles. So I think that it's really important that we all start to understand that when we talk objectively about statistics around corruption and statistics around abuse of power, whether that's abuse of power in policing, abuse of power in the legal system, abuse of power in the finance system. I mean, it's rampant, it's all over. And I don't want to speak too specifically on the statistics, but I do want to prompt you to go look at the statistics in your country and gauge to what extent is there abuse of power in policing, in the legal system, as well as the finance system that has influenced the way that you think critically about power and how you engage with power and the questions that you ask before you simply trust. Because I think a lot of us hear these statistics, we know that corruption exists. We know that there are people who have no integrity, who have no qualms about breaking the rules and changing the rules if it satisfies their agenda. Yet, if it is the case that we are called upon and we're told a narrative, we're told a story, we don't double or triple check our facts because we blindly trust in that position of authority. So I think that it's important to have this conversation around power and influence and how we allow ourselves to be blindsided by influence and by power and also by notoriety. And I think that it's really, really important that we recognize that none of these things shake away the statistics that are grounded, that are fact-based around all of the people who have been subject to various kinds of abuse from these institutions of power. So when it impacts us in a more direct way, and I think it is really important, especially when it is the case that you're spoken to or when you're brought into a scenario or you're brought into a situation that is really not the norm, that you ask yourself very, very critical questions about the methodology, about the things that you're being told, and what it is that you need to do to make sure that you're sure that the role that you're playing isn't to harm and actually to help. And I think so many of us are leveraged as pawns or used as pawns when it is the case that someone who has very evil intentions but is trying to work and operate in the dark is trying to leverage people and whoever their target is in their personal circle, or people who are adjacent to them or have proximity to them in order to satisfy their agenda. So I think that it's really important to have this conversation, because this was definitely my personal experience. And I recognize that no one, and not anyone, really uses critical thinking or their judgment when it is the case that they're approached by someone who's in a position of power or by someone who has formal authority and told something negative. They don't think to ask questions. They don't think, well, maybe there's a different alternative story here. They don't think, well, maybe this is a situation where this is abuse of power in action. Like, none of these questions really come to mind. And they just blindly believe the narrative and then are leveraged as a pawn. And I think that it's important, like for me, I've realized that our ignorance is our problem, right? It is for us to take accountability for our own ignorance. And it is for us to take accountability for the things we choose to believe and the things we choose to do because of the things that we've chosen to believe. So even if you thought you were doing the right thing, but you didn't, mind your P's and Q's about it, like if you've ended up inflicting harm on someone who's innocent because of what you allowed yourself to believe, because you didn't check your facts, you didn't really make sure that everything really did line up, then you're going to be held accountable for the things you did in alignment with that belief. So I think we need to be just all the more mindful about the beliefs that we form and the things that we choose because of those beliefs. We need to be more mindful about whether or not it is we are being manipulated to believe a certain thing, to feel certain things about certain people, so that we're not inadvertently also adding fire to the fuel and also victimizing someone who's already been a target of victimization, a target of abuse, a target of oppression, because there are things that have happened in the dark that, these individuals don't want to go to light, or because these individuals don't want to take accountability for their actions and for their misconduct, essentially. And I think that there are so many measures that people will go through and go to if it is the case that they recognize that their misconduct will really garnish really bad consequences, that I think that we all just need to be very mindful that these statistics about, police brutality, abuse of power, in all of the systems that come to place, these are also personal stories of each individual who has fed into that statistic. And it's also very important that we recognize that there are so many cases that don't make it on paper, that aren't formalized, that don't speak to that statistic. So recognize that a lot of the times when it comes to statistics around the things that our government and that these institutions do wrong, they're often conservative numbers. Often it is the case that these numbers could be higher if we had a direct apples to apples picture of all of the situations and all of the cases where corruption took place, or where misconduct took place, or where concealment and bribery and changing the narrative and character assassination and smear campaigning and all of these different things that are the toolkit of someone who's abusing power and who's looking to maintain that power and authority and is looking to maintain it by whatever means necessary will leverage. So I think it's up to us to think critically, to recognize that whatever the statistics are as it relates to our own countries, that it speaks to personal stories of the people that we may come in touch with on our day-to-day lives. If we want to play a specific role in this life that we live, where we're helping and not harming, where we're never going to be inadvertently or unintentionally an extended arm of abuse of power, then we need to make sure that we're asking ourselves the critical questions and not acting from a place of ignorance and expecting that our actions are going to be judged based on our misplaced judgment and based on our misplaced belief. Your actions are going to be judged based on what your actions are and the impact that those actions had on the people who are victimized by them. And so for me, because I have suffered a smear campaign, because I have suffered people attacking my mental health, and this is from people who are professionals within the mental health sphere, I recognize that just because someone has the title, has the credentials, has the accreditation, doesn't mean that they have the integrity or the morality to make the kinds of decisions that are going to, in a very deep way, impact someone's life. And the same thing with the police force, right? And I think that not just me, I don't only have personal stories, but many people have personal stories where they have had run-in with authorities, and rather than believe the narrative that was told, if that person was in a vulnerable position and looking for help because they've already been victimized, there's another narrative that best suits that agenda or the quotas that they're trying to attain. And I have been subject to this. And again, I've had people smear my name, smear my character by way of character assassination when it speaks to my mental health and then also my integrity. So attacking me by saying that I have a history of crime, or I have done a crime that I've not ever done, not even close to have done, and I've had to deal with it in the legal system. But I've realized I need to come on here and say that, like, a lot of what allows these lies and these narratives to perpetuate into cycle and to create situations that are dangerous, like for people who are the target and who are the victim and who pose a threat to the institutions, who would like to be seen as those who serve and protect, who are there to abuse and to oppress. I think that you need to really think critically about the role that you're playing and the things that you're being fed in order to feel like, the actions that you're taking are really for the greater good. Oftentimes it really isn't the case, especially when there's so much shrouded in secrecy. So I want to come up in here, I want to talk about that because I'm doing everything I can on a legal basis behind the scenes formally to make sure that people are held accountable for the lies that they have told about me, whether it's about my mental health or whether it's about me having committed crimes. And I think that it's really very important that for all of the people who have been connected to me and who are connected to anyone else where, you've been tapped on the shoulder, make sure that you're supporting and you're not hurting, right? And the only way to do that is to be fully informed. And if you're not in a position to get both sides of the story, get both narratives as to what took place, then better to just stay as far away from that situation as you possibly can. So I think this is important. We all need to use our critical thinking skills. We all need to recognize that these statistics around corruption, oppression, abuse of power, that also translates as personal stories of what people are living through on a day-to-day basis. And if we don't want to be an extension of that abuse, then we need to make sure that we're asking ourselves the appropriate questions so that we're moving in alignment with our own personal integrity and our own personal sense of morality, which I hope is intact. In any case, that was it for today, but definitely not all. Now, before letting you go, I would be remiss if I didn't let you know that we will be going live at least twice a month, every month for the foreseeable future on our Facebook page. So definitely be sure to tune in. Now, these events are paid events, so if you do see yourself participating in our community on an ongoing basis, then I do suggest that you take a look at one of our package plans. Yes, so we do offer package plans over and above our live events, as well as access to webinars and workshops largely focused on self-mastery over and above these events. So definitely be sure to check it out. Be part of our game changer community, being part of the change that you want to see, allowing us a small role to play in your journey. We are on the road to 1K, so we invite all of you to follow us across all of our social media platforms, and we look forward to chatting with all of you very soon. We'll talk to you later.
I just feel like the world's into me.